everybody, this is Michelle Fox and welcome back to The Simple Quilter. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about button storage. Ever since I was a little girl, I have loved buttons. As I was preparing for this video, I was looking all over the house for my mother's button box. I remember playing in the button box. I remember the smell of the button box. And so I was looking all over, and it's interesting because I was looking for this great big container because that's what I remembered. But this was her little old button box. And in the comments below, I want you to tell me if you remember a button box from your mother or grandmother. This was my mother's little button box. I remember giving her that, but all those fun buttons, and I can smell the old buttons. I don't know. Well, I can smell the old buttons in my mother's button box. I have some other old buttons I'm going to show you, and I don't notice the smell with them, but I remember this smell. But it was always so much fun to play in this button box and to look at the buttons that she had. I do have to say that button box holds some special memories for me. So again, tell me about a button box that you might remember from your mother or grandmother. Okay, so this is one way to store it, and I will always store these buttons in here. Simply because it has a lot of sentimental value for me. But I want to show you some other ways that you can store buttons. And I'm going to show you a little bit of, gosh, maybe my button collection. It's not well organized and I need to work on that. But let me show you some of the possible ways for storing your old buttons. Or new buttons as far as that goes. Okay, since we've been on the topic of old, I'm going to share this with you. This was an old jar that my brother bought me at an antique store. He knew I loved buttons, and he bought this at an old antique store. And you can definitely just store buttons in there. However, this is broken right there, and I think I'm going to put all these buttons and old spools in something else. Plus, I don't know about you, but I love to dig through old buttons to see what some of them look like. But using an old jar with an old lid, I think that looks really neat. But I like rustic stuff. And like you can store them in a jar like this. This is an old antique jar that I purchased. And it would just look so neat, full of old buttons, so I may end up putting some of those in here because this is one of my favorite jars. Okay, another way I store buttons, I set this on top of the shelves, the cabinets in my quilt room, but this is just an old sewing drawer, and I used to visit antique stores a lot when I was younger, and I decorated our house a lot with antiques. I do have a few, but I don't have quite the amount of decor that I did. But look at these old buttons on cards. And one's full of spools. And this little milk jug is full of this old milk jug is full of buttons. But that's another neat way you can store buttons and display them. Okay, so I'm kind of doing the old methods first. Have you ever been guilty of this? Have you ever pulled those button little bags off your clothes and stuck them somewhere? This is from CJ Banks. Look at all those buttons. I have so many of those buttons. I don't know why I've kept them. I think I really just need to empty all those up into my button boxes. But this was a fun way to store them, and you could just set that out. It's such a cute decorative little box. So that's another option for storing buttons. Here's a fun little craft that you can do for a pin cushion as well as storing buttons. I have some old buttons and some old spools in here, but one of the quilt shops hosted this, and it's just a little Kerr jar. Well, good grief, I can't get that. A little Kerr jar with a little pin cushion made on top. And I thought that was really cute. I wanted to show you that. But these are just super, super easy to make. And just quick and easy. But that's kind of a fun way to store some old buttons. Or, again, new buttons. Okay, let me show you a couple of the newer ways that I store buttons. Okay, since I have so many buttons, this is a fairly new way I've stored buttons. But I bought these little containers from the dollar store. Wait, the Dollar Tree. And I had just started sorting buttons by color. These are all metal buttons. But you could take the label off here and just store them upside down. Or you could put a button of whatever color's in there on top. But I think it would be neat just to get these peeled off good and turn them upside down so that you could see the button. And then this one is just for buttons that I have in bags. But this is another way. I think I really need to declutter some of my buttons or reorganize them and consolidate them, because it would be nice to get this piece out of my quilt room. Okay, another fun way to store buttons are these little glass jars. Now, I just love the Dollar Tree for organizational hacks, and I purchased these at the Dollar Tree, and they sit like that. You can sit them like that, but I think they're really cute sitting just like this. And I store lots of things, but I thought, well, that would be fun to store my new buttons in, and it adds some color to the shelf. So that's an option, and again, this came from the Dollar Tree. I want to show you my latest way. Okay, I asked for this spice rack for Christmas to store my buttons in. I want to fill each one full of different colors of buttons. I love this organizational idea, and like I said, I want to fill each one with a certain color of buttons. But I like this because it's thin. You can see all the colors. I don't have a lot of counter space, so this will sit nicely. And I really do love buttons, and look how neat that looks. Okay, so that is the main way that I store buttons. I have some buttons on cards and Ziploc bags and in old plastic zippered towel bags or blanket bags. I still have some like that, and like I said, I really need to go through there and consolidate them, but I don't ever want to really do anything to this one. This one is pretty special. Okay, so in the comments below, be sure to tell me if you have an old button box and what you remember about it, and tell me if there's any way you store buttons that I haven't mentioned, because I'm always looking for new ideas for storing things in my quilt room, and you might have one that I might want to use in here. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Please share with a friend, and as always, leave a comment. I love to get the comments, and I really do try to reply to each and every one. So until next time, have fun quilting.